Hello and welcome to this pick a card reading on the topic of self-love, where we're tuning in for messages of empowerment, of affirmation, and also seeking advice on the next step towards self-love that we should be taking at this moment. Whenever you're ready, the timestamps are down below in the description. I'll catch you at your reading. Hello, Pile 1, and welcome to this self-love reading where we're going to be looking into or tuning in for messages of affirmation and empowerment, and then looking at what self-love needs from you. So to start off with messages of affirmation and empowerment, we have Justice and the Queen of Swords reversed, the Six of Swords reversed, the Two of Swords reversed, and the Four of Pentacles reversed. From the Oracle of the Roses, we have the Challenger, and from Botanical Inspirations, we have Anemone, which is anticipation, and the quote is, "I felt like an arrow pulled back and ready to be launched into something big." And we also have Iris, which is rainbows and messages, and the quote reads, "When it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars." So immediately, what I'm picking up on is your wonderful magical capacity to either see the silver lining in absolutely everything, and if it's not that, then it's your unbreakable spirit. It's the way that you can face anything that is thrown at you and you come out at the other end, maybe not unscathed, maybe not unchanged, and maybe you're a little worse for wear, but you're there. You are the final girl. You are the person who keeps your head above water through trial and tribulation, and when your head isn't able to be kept above water, you hold your breath and you have powerful lungs where you are able to make it through until you are able to put your head above water. But the point is that regardless of all of these challenges represented by these reversals, which are all minor, you are being represented by Justice, upwards, the major arcana card, this unbreakable, influenceable, if that's not a word, but you get what I'm saying, energy where whether you have a conscious awareness of it or not, there's this truth to you, this power to just either keep on going or stay true to yourself. And maybe that part of yourself that you're staying true to is that you're like, part of that is you not being able to quit, or it's not even about you not being able to quit. It's just that you have so much energy. You find places within you to keep on giving from. There is a slight warning, and it's only slight, but it is important that you you'll benefit a lot from expanding your awareness to the point where you can recognize this capacity of yours. If you can recognize this capacity of yours, then it's about gaining an awareness of how you wield it. Because yes, you're being represented by Justice here, the major arcana card, the only upwards card. But next to that is the Queen of Swords, and she's reversed. And the thing is that these two cards are very similar because they both doll out justice. I mean, this is the Justice card, but she, the Queen of Swords, there's this sense of balance where with one hand she defends and is willing to, enact violence with a sword in order to defend her position and what's hers, but with the other hand she's open to life and what it has to bring her. So there's this recognition of one cannot live without the other. They balance, and so reversed. And also I want to point out that Justice is the major arcana representation of Libra and Queen of Swords is the minor representation of Libra. And so just the fact that we're having the two Libra cards coming up next to each other, but one of them is reversed, and the one that's reversed is the minor card, which is a representation of the everyday life, while the majors are the more elevated aspects of life, the bigger themes of life, are internal workings. There might be a tendency that you have of, you have this beautiful, wonderful, magical energy that can't be influenced and that can't, it keeps on going and you keep yourself going. But there are times where you leave it inside. You don't allow for it to shine through, and that's why these minor cards are coming up reversed, because although it exists internally, although it exists in a place that it's something that you live your life by, in the everyday it's not really showing up. There's something about being closed to it. There's something about not get into all of the things that the Six of Swords can mean. Something about it is courage. And so reversed, it's, a bit of a lack of courage, The Two of Swords reversed, upwards, is about hesitation, but taking the proper time to really weigh your options. And so reversed, it can indicate rash behavior. And if not rash behavior, it's just action that isn't as considered as it should have been. And the Four of Pentacles upwards is about withholding. And so reversed, it's withholding for the wrong reasons. It's hoarding, rather. And so this beautiful magical energy that we're talking about, because you don't let it shine through and you hoard it within you, the message of empowerment here is that you need to open up, you need to open yourself up. And it's not to let people in, it's to let yourself out. It's to let people experience you and see you in all of your glory, because you are glorious. And maybe there's a bit of self-consciousness attached to this uniqueness that you have, and maybe why you don't let it shine through is because very real experiences that you've had in the past. Justice is all about the past and how it dictates the present and the future. So there might have been very real instances in your past that might have forced you to shield this, to repress this. But now you're being told that, once you do, all of these things are unlocked. The Queen of Swords energy, where there's balance, right? Where, yes, the past is real and I'm going to honor it, but I'm also willing to welcome in whatever comes, because I have the capacity to protect myself and what is mine, the peace that I have created, the life that I have created. And in doing so, you have the courage to go from wherever you are to wherever you are being led to. And in doing that, you have the capacity. I mean, look, there's water here and then water here. That's incredible. With the Two of Swords unlocked and then, not reversed and upwards now now we have the capacity, the wisdom to weigh all of our options, to weigh what was true in the past with what is needed of us in the present, and make the proper decisions to move as best as possible into the future in a way where we aren't hoarding ourselves, but we are holding ourselves in a responsible way. And if not in a responsible way, in a way that is different than the way we've hoarded ourselves in the past. The challenger is, this is all about challenging I was going to say the status quo, but it's not so much that. It's challenging what comes to face you, all of these trials and tribulations that I was talking about, right? And so the challenger is someone who doesn't just succumb to the challenges that come their way. They stand up to that challenge. They become a challenger to those challenges. So again, that energy of not quitting. And anemone, that beautiful quote of, I felt like an arrow pulled back and ready to be launched into something big. So that idea of being pulled back, which might feel like a detriment, right? To move backwards always feels like something bad. But in this mentality, it's looking at it differently. It's understanding that we're only being pulled back. We're only being shrunk in order so that when the time is right, we can open up and launch ourselves and unlock all of these things and shine through in a way that we haven't before, and move into this iris energy, rainbows and messages. Rainbows, which is what comes after the storm. Rainbows which are created not only by the storm, but from the sunlight that shines through and breaks that storm. When it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars. So the quote itself reflecting that idea of, in the face of trial, you looking and having that capacity to see the bright side. And that's what we started out with. So this whole full circle message of, you have this inherent beautiful magical energy to see the light and everything, to see the beauty, to see the good, whatever the case is. And although you might have been forced to repress that in the past, the time has come for you to open yourself up, to open the light, to open up the doors and the windows to yourself, to allow your light to shine out and be experienced by others. And in doing so, unlocking all of these things in your everyday life, in allowing these internal energies, these elevated energies to shine through you, to descend through you onto the material plane, onto your everyday life, you'll gain newfound understandings and access to new places you've never really been to before, especially mentally, since we have all of these swords cards here in the center, but definitely in a way that you'll see in your everyday life, with it ending in the pentacles cards here. So that was your message of empowerment and affirmation. I'm going to go ahead and move and put the cards out for what self-love needs from you. All right, what does self-love need from you? Nice. The Two of Coins, so nice. We're shifting from swords to coins, which reflects that here. That's cool. Judgment reversed. The Knight of Swords reversed. The Three of Swords. And the Nine of Cups. Okay. Lenormand adds whip, scythe, tree. Okay, intense. I'm going to put the Lenormand cards off to the side while we interpret the tarot cards. And then we'll talk about the Lenormand cards after. Okay, so what does self-love need from you? Now, long story short, the long and short of it, it needs you to relax. Now, easier said than done, of course. So let's kind of break down what the cards are saying to give you a better idea of how to get that started. So we start with the Two of Coins. And again, Oh no, I was going to say it was all reversals after, but no, it's just the next couple of ones. I'm being dramatic. So the Two of Coins. Now, in the Two of Swords earlier, we talked about how that's giving yourself the time, adequate time and space to consider your options. Giving yourself the time to think everything through, basically. And in the Two of Pentacles, it's not so much giving ourselves the time to think about those things, it's what it looks like, what it feels like to us to live out those options, to try to maneuver through all of the things that we carry. And so in this depiction, she's standing on one foot. There's this lack of balance, which is a theme we've been talking about. And she's holding her two siblings. And I don't remember the entire story, but there was something about she needs to figure it out to get her little brothers to be changed back into their human forms. So there's this level of stress of, if I don't figure this out, something bad is going to happen. If I don't get this just right, if I don't do this the way I'm supposed to do it, whatever the case is for you, there's this mentality of, if I don't do this, X is going to happen. And we have Judgment reversed, which Judgment is like Judgment Day. And so these two cards together, where the Two of Coins is representing this stressful energy of, why it is that the stress that motivates you to carry all of the things that you carry. And what that card is saying in terms of what self-love needs from you, it's for you to understand, to pay attention, to be part of this increasing awareness that we were talking about earlier, has to eventually include the ways in which you are motivated by stress. What are the things that you're doing simply because you're worried about the worst possible outcome? And then recognize that those worst possible outcomes aren't necessarily realistic, and if they are, there's no guarantee that that's what's going to happen. Judgment reversed, Judgment upwards is that Judgment Day come, and us having to answer for the actions that we've taken, so consequences basically. So then reversed, it's that indication that that idea that I was talking about, where it's not super realistic, and if it is, there isn't very much merit to you giving it as much power over you as you do. The Knight of Swords reversed, which is in the center of your reading, it's anxious, it's anxiety, it's the way our mind moves 100 miles a minute and can't really settle on one thing to kind of calm ourselves down, and we're just trying to figure everything out. It's not giving ourselves mental rest. There is also, I want to point out how we start with the Queen of Swords, so there's this mastery over the mind in this first part of the reading, which you are capable of, but what your self-love needs is for you to recognize the ways in which you throw this mental prowess, this mental power away. So there's this demotion from Queen to Knight, and it's the Queen of Swords was reversed also, but that it's reversed here too, that indication of there are times where it does hurt you to ignore your rationality, to ignore your intelligence, to ignore what your mind is telling you. And in doing that, that's why we have the Three of Swords, this heartbreak that you create, that you're inducing, the ways in which you're hurting yourself, not allowing yourself to relax, the ways in which you're hurting yourself, maintaining stressful situations that you don't really need to maintain anymore. Nine of Cups at the very end, after all of these cards that are basically talking about a stressful situation, it says to me that there is a possibility, a capacity for joy, and one that's untainted, one that is what you want. Basically, it's possible for you, but it does come after this work of recognizing it. Okay, so it's what I'm seeing is the happiness, it's there, it exists, but what's clouding it, what's blocking you from it, are the stresses that you're maintaining that you have no business maintaining anymore. What self-love needs from you is for you to pulling out the Lenormand cards. For you to end, scythe, to cut away the things that hurt you, whip, in order to allow yourself to grow, tree. Bam. So, bullet points. The message of affirmation is for you to wield your unique energy, that magical, wonderful power that you have to cut through the detriment, to keep your head above water, to keep going, that unbreakable spirit that you have. Wield it responsibly, and also recognize that the time has come for you to stop repressing that, because the reasons for which you had to repress that no longer exist, and if they do, you are strong enough to shine past them, to outshine them. And the time has come for you to open the doors and the windows of yourself, to let that light shine through and let other people experience that. And also in doing that, unlocking new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking, unlocking and making use of this mental prowess that we're talking about. And in doing so, holding yourself in a new way. What self-love needs from you is to recognize, identify, and process the stresses that you're carrying, because obviously there are stresses that are valid and we need to maintain. That's another type of thing to deal with. But there are definitely stresses, judgment days that you're expecting that are never going to come. And in maintaining the expectation of that judgment day that's never going to come, you are hurting yourself. You're creating and maintaining anxieties. And these anxieties and this way that you're maintaining this expectation for a judgment day is what's blocking a joy, a happiness that is present in your life. It's just clouded. It's just these stresses you're maintaining are what's keeping you from really grasping it clearly. And so what love needs from you, what your self-love needs from you, is for you to cut away the things that hurt you in order to allow yourself and the self-love to grow. My friends, I hope that this helped. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Hello, Pile 2, and welcome to your self-love reading, where we're tapping in for messages of empowerment and affirmations here. And in the second part, with the other tarot deck and with the Lenormand cards, we'll be answering or tapping in for advice on what your next step towards self-love should be. So to answer the first part, the messages or the message of affirmation and empowerment, we have the 9 of Wands, the 3 of Swords, the King of Swords, Temperance reversed, and the Queen of Pentacles. The Oracle of the Roses adds the Explorer, and the Botanical Inspirations Oracle adds Violet, which reads faithfulness and modesty. And the quote is, "Modesty is a shining light that prepares the mind to receive knowledge and the heart for truth." And we also have Gladiola, which is strength of character and moral integrity. And the quote reads, "Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experiences of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved." Okay, so the message that he's seeing here is one of strength. What your message of empowerment and affirmation, what's being affirmed to you here, is your strength. How capable you are to continue to show up to where you're expected, to where your responsibilities need you, regardless or despite how you're feeling or what's going on in your life. How you can consistently continue to do or show up for what's required of you. We start with the 9 of Wands, which shows someone who is wounded but continues to fight, someone who is willing to continue an effort despite, physical ailment. So that could be true for you, how you can really push past the strength of mind, again, to push past, it's strength of will. To push past whatever you're feeling in order to get the job done. And that mixed with the 3 of Swords, which is of heartache and pain, it delivers this message of you continue to show up even in spaces or with people whom make you feel this way, this 3 of Swords energy of it hurts to be there. Or if it's not that you're willing to be in those places, it's that you're willing to continue to show up where you're expected, even if you're feeling heartbroken or there's a lot on your on your emotional platter, so to speak. And the King of Swords kind of unites these energies of the willingness to, again, show up like the king, who recognizes his responsibilities, who recognizes that just because he wants a day off and he can take that, and he's a king, he's not going to stop being king just because he's taking a day off. Like, that's a title that's going to remain no matter what you do. And so, again, that understanding that you have, that capacity that you have to be who it is that you are required, or that, it's required of you, you continue to be that regardless of what's going on. And these 3 cards showing up with Temperance reversed and the Queen of Pentacles. Temperance reversed is saying a whole bunch of things, but here, to keep this going, as this message, the surface level message that I'm seeing is that Temperance reversed is not mixing, not conflating this part of yourself, which is willing to, again, continue to show up, to will past what you're feeling to show up for where you're expected. Not mixing that with other aspects of your life, not like you have this really strong sense of compartmentalizing so that nothing gets in the way of these responsibilities. Very likely this very likely has to do with a job or something that generates some sort of resource or security for you, because it's the Queen of Pentacles and she's protected and she's the culmination of all this energy. So with these first 3 cards, which speak to that strength of will to show up in places that, at best make you uncomfortable, and at worst, you're showing up despite your pain and, whatever it is that's weighing on you. And that with this message of you not mixing, not allowing other things to mix into that and get in the way of that. And in the end, that generating something physical for you, something that you can actually tangibly hold. So again, a resource, which whether it can be like physical money, like actual money, or another resource, if it's not something like physical, like money, like peace of mind, something, this, if it's not about a job, then this could be just you having the will to look at uncomfortable truths, and this is where we're getting into the deeper level kind of interpretation of this message, where at a surface level, it's your capacity to compartmentalize to the point where you don't let anything get in the way of you showing up for your responsibilities, and that strength that you have generating physical, or not, if not physical, actual resources for you. And at a deeper level, it could be that you have a capacity to not only face but hold and accept really uncomfortable truths, even if it means heartbreak, even if it means separating and building walls, boundaries, to and from certain people, and getting away from certain energies, not mixing with things that you were mixing with in the past in order to generate some type of security for you. So at a surface level, it could be just your capacity to compartmentalize so well. At a deeper level, it's your capacity to be uncomfortable for the sake of generating something for yourself. The oracle cards, we'll start with the Explorer, and the Explorer gives this idea of being willing to go somewhere no one else has been before. And that entails a whole bunch of feelings, besides like the fear of going into, again, somewhere no one's been before. So you're doing it for the first time. There's no reference for you to look to help you with where you're going. So to be an explorer requires a willingness to be uncomfortable, to go where it's not comfortable, basically, where it's unknown, where you're going to be the one who establishes things there. So that takes a lot of strength of will. Faithfulness and modesty. Whenever this card comes up for me, I interpret modesty like humility. And so this idea of, you could be humble, it could be that, but I kind of interpret it more so as, I got that idea of like you continuing to show up despite how you're feeling. Like that requires a certain sense of humility to this work that you're doing here. Because humility is a respect for something greater than you. And I kind of like, it's a weird kind of way to interpret it, but I sort of, that's where I got that energy of you being so respectful for this grind, or being so respectful of truth, or the work that you do and what it generates for you, respecting that so much that you're willing to, again, be uncomfortable, go into uncomfortable places. And faithfulness, again, faithfulness to that energy. Strength of character and moral integrity. The quote is by Helen Keller, and I'll read it to you again, which it just perfectly encapsulates what we were reading here, where it says, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experiences of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. So very clearly, in other words, it's basically saying it's only through discomfort that you can really achieve greatness. And you're being represented, yeah, sure, by all these cards, but by monarchs, king and queen energy. And so there's your mastery is being reflected here. Again, there's the way that you do this. It's better. Other people like want to be able to do this, to kind of compartmentalize in a way that allows them to be productive or do the things that they want to do. And you might not fully recognize it as a strength. You might not even be fully aware that this is something that you can do. But regardless of where you're at in awareness, of how aware you are of this gift or not, that you're tapping into a reading of empowerment and affirmation, and that this is what's being highlighted to you right now. You need to then, why you're getting this message is because if you've been feeling doubt, or if maybe it's already happened or it's going to happen, where because of your capacity to do this, someone might feel a certain type of way where they want more of this attention or priority, and because of this is who you are, you're incapable of doing. That's just one example. Whatever the case is, this is a strength of yours. This is something that it's a gift that you have, a strength, and it's for you to use it as you see fit. So what I'm basically trying to say is, if you aren't aware of this gift, try to pay more attention, because it's being highlighted to you for you to use it. And if you are aware of this gift, pay attention to opportunities coming up or presently where you can utilize this gift to your benefit. And then also, side note, regardless of where you are in awareness, understand that this gift of prioritizing it does generate things for you, but it might leave you isolated and leave other people feeling a certain way, where your incapacity or unwillingness to mix and like give up, or not give up, but rather operate differently than this, what's worked for you here. Understand that there's consequences to the way that everybody acts. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. Not that that's a bad thing, but just I'm pointing it out. Like I'm getting like, okay, because also with the temperance reversed here, that unwillingness to mix, and the king of swords and the queen of pentacles, yes, they're both representing you, but I also cannot help but notice how like it's two monarchs, and what separates them is a lack of mixing, a lack of compromise, of being willing to share with one another. And so that's where I'm getting this idea of like, maybe for you, that's, you have trouble in relationships because you're so unwilling to compromise on this way that you operate in order to make space for another person, and what it would take to get to know and be with another person. So that's another kind of like, that's not so much a message of empowerment or affirmations, but it is kind of just this added message of, if it applies, take it; if it doesn't, leave it. But I mean, with the heart here, and that heartbreak energy, and the focus being here instead of union, and the energy of potential union being blocked. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave that there. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move these cards so that we can put out the rest of the spread, which then will answers the question. Oh my god, it's us tapping into advice on what your next move or next step towards self-love should be. All right, the advice on self-love. We have the Sun, the Five of Swords reversed, the Ten of Cups reversed, the Six of Wands, and the Devil. Lenormand adds Fish, Moon, and House. I'm going to move the Lenormand cards out of the way while we interpret the tarot cards, and then we'll add the Lenormand message after. Okay, so this portion with the advice, it's giving me different scenarios and different messages, and so I'm assuming that each of these is going to be for different ones of you who picked this pile. One very clear message that comes through for some of you, if it applies, is if you are currently, or if part of this discomfort that we're talking about here in the Three of Swords, if part of what you carry and kind of repress and, in order to do your work or whatever, if part of that pain is some type of separation of any type of relationship, no matter, romantic, platonic, or otherwise, if part of that sadness is like the breaking apart of like a family unit or a union, a relationship, and if not that, if it's that there's a sadness involving your incapacity for relationships or union or whatever it is, that sadness is so great. It's something so great that it has the capacity to overwhelm any potential joy in your life. And so there needs to be not so much a release of that sadness, but rather a prioritizing of other things. Rather, not prioritizing of other things, but like making sure to include things in your life that aren't just that sadness. And so what I'm saying is, if part of your daily routine is like returning mentally and emotionally back to that thing that makes you feel bad, putting in the effort to, oh my God, what is the word? To consume things that make you feel good. Movies, music, books, people. Not, you can't consume people, but like, being around people and consuming their company and their conversation. Things that make you feel good. Temperance. Tempering the inherent stress and sadness and all of these bad things that you carry, tempering that with good things. So that's one thing. Another message that's coming through is, and this one's so prominent, and I guess this one's kind of like more for everybody who's kind of showing up, is, let me kind of break down what I'm seeing. We have on one hand, we're bookended by major arcana cards, the Sun and the Devil. The Sun is all about the dawn of a new day. So a new way of doing things. And that's why there's this youth represented here. There usually is some type of youth involved in the Sun card. Kind of like a rebirth. And on the other end, the Devil, which here is coming through as I just love saying the phrase, a release of inhibitions, a liberating of self, of the things that you repress, the things that you hold back, just letting loose and letting those things go and allowing yourself to just be. So the Sun and the Devil in this spread, answering the question of like what advice there is for you in terms of self-love, there needing to be a release of this stern energy that we were talking about that, is empowering and is affirmed to you. Like, yes, it's a strength, utilize it. But what you're also being told is that there are times when you need to put that down. You need to allow yourself to relax in order to enjoy what you're generating for yourself with all of this work and effort. The Sun is basically saying, allow for a new day, a new way to dawn in the way that you do things. And the Devil is, I need to be very careful with how I word this, because I wanted to say it's like, give in to your temptations and just let go and do whatever you want to do. But no, that's not what the Devil is about. Here, it's more so saying to give in to the parts of you that want to relax. Kind of like how there might be a sense of you looking at this strength, this gift that we're talking about. You might wield that in a way that you use it as an excuse for everything, where it's like, oh, well, I have to do this work. I have to get my work done. I have to show up for this thing. And yes, that's true, but you might be overusing it. You might be relying on these things to like get out of things, or as a crutch to like not face certain things, or there's this way that you hold on to this a little too tight, and the Devil is then releasing that. And not entirely, because again, that's why it was being affirmed to you as a strength, because it's not about releasing it entirely. It's not that it's a bad thing for you to give up on and it needs to change. No, it's that you need to understand that there needs to be more than just that. You know how to do that. Cool. Now learn how to be a little more relaxed, a little more for pleasure instead of just for work and gain. Doing things not because it's going to gain you something, but because you want to. And so these two, the three cards in the center, we again have this energy of not mixing. In the first part, we got that from Temperance reversed, but here we're getting it in the 10 of Cups reversed. In the 10 of Cups, we see a family unit, all together, all happy, all banded under the total spectrum of emotions that is being represented by the 10 of these 10 cups here. And so reversed, it's these things not merging. And what's not merging here is the 5 of Swords energy and the 6 of Wands energy. So 5 to 6, this elevation of energy that's being made possible here, but that is being blocked by your refusal, by your unwillingness to merge, to compromise, to make use of these two energies that you have access to. And what am I talking about with the 5 of Swords reversed? it continues the theme of swords that we were talking about earlier, that strength of will, that strength of mind, where upwards, this has been something that has happened in the past, where you wielding your gift and you using your swords and cutting things out in order to show up for your responsibilities, you've left other people feeling defeated. If not other people, then other parts of your life. This could also be you, other parts of yourself that are trying to combat for space and your attention, for a place in your life, and you continuing to cut them out in order to prioritize your work and this, your responsibilities. And so long as that stands, okay, so the new day here with the sun is being supported by this energy of the Five of Swords being reversed, of you understanding that, again, it's a gift and it's a strength and you've gained a lot from it. But now it's time to recognize what you're being cut off from by maintaining these efforts. And on the other hand, this is so hard to articulate, but you're not mixing this energy. You're not, what am I saying? It's not that you're not mixing this energy, sorry, but rather this Six of Wands is a representation of the victory that exists in your life. So this thing that we're talking about, that the tangible evidence that your efforts generate you something, that thing that you generate from your efforts, that's what's being discussed here in the Six of Wands. And you don't have access to that because of this blockage that's happening. So basically what I'm seeing here is how, if you were to, in these times where you're being asked to show up and make, feel the full spectrum of your emotions, maybe come into union with others, and if it's not with others, then making harmony within yourself. When you're being called to show up for that, you're prioritizing, okay, but no, I have to prioritize other things. I have to go and continue my responsibilities. And if you were to remember in those moments that you are already victorious, that because this is your inherent gift, the victory isn't going to go away just because you stop. You've generated, it's not that you've generated enough. I don't want to say that. It's more so that because you know how to do this, you choosing union, you choosing harmony isn't going to destroy all of your efforts. You learning how to act in a new and different way doesn't mean that all of this is wrong and you can never do it again. Again, this is being affirmed to you. It's a message of empowerment that's being highlighted to you so that you don't give it up. It's just that the time has come for you to merge that Ten of Cups, temperance, merge this gift that you have with the very real victory that exists in your life. And if it's something that you can't see, if this tangible evidence that we're talking about isn't something that you can see, then what's being said here is that you need to act like victory is possible. So maybe part of you not wanting to engage in things that aren't your responsibilities is because you don't want to be disappointed by those things. It might be because you know for a fact that this thing that you continue to show up for continues to be consistent and safe and stable, and that's why you're so faithful to it, because it hasn't disappointed you. And if it has, it's made up for it in a way that's tangible. Whereas relationships and other people, they haven't, or you don't expect for them to, you don't believe that they can. And so you don't even engage with it. Where if you were to introduce into that equation this variable of victory, of good things, then these, they're already, I unreversed them so they're unblocked. But, when they're blocked, when we're able to merge these energies, when we're able to hold our gifts, our gifts, and make space for the good things, for the possibility for good things, victory, or the possibility of victory, that's when there is one relief, because we start with the sun, which is 19, and we end with the devil, which is 15. So a relief of like energy, but it's still a progress because we're moving from 5 to 6 in the minors. So this progress of moving past where you're comfortable here, of cutting things off for the sake of your responsibilities, marrying that comfort with the discomfort of accepting the good things and or the possibility for good things, that's progress, and that progress is going to gain you relief. And more than relief, in addition to relief, there is this sense of fun attached to where you're ending up at, because this, again, the sun is youthful energy. We also have youth in the 10 of cups, but then also like union, marriage, it's something joyful. The card of victory here, and the devil, which it's like one of the very many ways to interpret it. It's like that sinful side, that like, you know, there's like uptight and having to do everything by the book, and then there's like relaxed and just like doing things because you want to, just having fun. So this message of advice, what self-love needs from you, it's to, you know, seek out that relief in order to by doing more than what you're comfortable doing, yes, but also making space for fun, making in that relief. It's either that you're going to find fun, or it's through fun that you'll find this relief and this strength and capacity to like make space for more. And if it's not those things, then when you do this work of holding both your gift and the capacity for more, you'll end up in a place where you are having fun, whatever that means in your situation. Lenormand here at the end adds, fish is all about abundance. So like this spring of just something that's super abundant, a lot of it. Moon is something that is like, okay, so there are two like interpretations for the moon that come to mind. And sorry, I like paused because I like went into a tangent with the moon, because it's like I had seen one message earlier and then I remembered the other interpretation and it all kind of clicked. Anyways, the moon, two interpretations of it, which are like kind of, you wouldn't think that they go together, but one interpretation of the moon is like psychic capacity. So I'm not interpreting it here as like, you know, you're psychic. You could be, I don't know. None of these cards like tell me that. I don't know that. But what the moon here is telling me, what I'm interpreting from that psychic interpretation, is the elevation of this abundance that we're talking about to a psychic level, to a mental one. So we've already discussed your mental energy and your mental power. You then internalizing the abundance that is in your life, for the abundance that is possible, you elevating that and internalizing that into your psychic realm, into your mental realm. The other interpretation for moon is work, like our what we do for money. So and this whole reading has been about, you know, not the whole reading. I mean, I was using the example of work a lot in the first part, where like, you know, it could be work that you prioritize. So if that's true, what's being said by these three cards is you internalizing the abundance that exists in your life in order to supplement your work life with this abundance in order to create the stability that is the house. And if it's not that this is about work, that you prioritize your work in order, you know, you prioritize your work over other things. If it's not about that, that first part still applies, of like this being elevated into a psychic level in order to create a stability part. But what's also, if it's not that this is about work, like your vocation, like your day job, like what you do for money, basically, then moon, that interpretation of work can be applied as you doing the work, this work that we're talking about here in the self-love part. And also kind of in this first part where, you know, that lack of mixing and, you know, you kind of being advised that bit about the relationships that kind of suffer because of this gift that you have. You doing that work of applying this abundance and internalizing it psychically, then creating that abundance, like again, through that work that we're talking about. So I do have to say, like, I had a bit of a hard time kind of channeling this one. That, like, could be because, and I'm only pointing that out because the first pile, I mean, this is only the second one, but the first one was so easy. It flowed through, like, so quickly, and I was able to just kind of put the words together, and it came out neat and tidy. And this one, like, I struggled. Even though I knew what I wanted to say, the words just refused to formulate in a way that was concise. Look, like, now that I'm not channeling anymore, I'm able to talk clearly again. But while I was channeling your message, I was struggling. So I'm even having a hard time tapping into your energy, which speaks to how blocked off you are, how unwilling you are to just let anybody into your space, but to give space to anything other than your work or your responsibilities. Like, maybe even having the time to, like, watch this pick a card might even be like, okay, you're taking too long, you need to get to that point already. Like, and I have, if you need to go. But, like, just wanted to point out that, like, it was difficult to channel, and I am interpreting that too as how closed off you are from letting even me, someone who, like, bears you no harm. I'm just here to, like, read your cards. I literally have no way to, like, harm you. Even psychically, like, there's this, like, blockage. So, my friend, it's not that you have to change. It's not that, like, you're being told you're too strict. No, it's a strength. Wield it as such. It's a gift. It's something that, whether you see it or not, does generate something for you, something of value too. What you're being told, what the advice for you is to wield that, but wield it in a way that doesn't make you uncompromising. Wield it in a way that it gains, wield it in a way that, yes, you can wield it for the purpose of, gaining you what it gains you, but also understanding that you can also gain things, relationships, union, harmony, by putting it down. There is stability that can be created from this abundance if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to show up and internalize these things that we're talking about here. I really hope that this helped. I am wishing you all of the best. Bye. Pile 3, welcome to your self-love reading, where we're tapping in for messages of affirmation, of empowerment in this first half of the reading with tarot and the oracle cards, and in the second half with the other tarot deck and with the Lenormand cards. We're going to be tapping in for, or we tapped in for, advice on the next best step towards self-love for you to take. So for this first part of the message of empowerment, of affirmation, we have the 3 of Swords reversed, the Moon reversed, the 4 of Swords, the 2 of Swords reversed, and the 4 of Wands. From the Oracle of the Roses, we have the Advocate. The Botanical Inspirations Oracle adds Coreopsis, which is always joyful. The quote reads, write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year. And also Garden Heliotrope, which is devotion and dreams fulfilled. The quote reads, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. What is being affirmed here in these cards is the work that you've done to process and make sense of heartbreak, of illusions that stood in the past. What's being highlighted here is how you've shattered those illusions that you were fooled, but that you were under in the past. Something that might have felt bigger than life, something that, when you realized, or it might have been like a slow and gradual realization, these illusions and overcoming them. But now that you have, you can't go back to that. I want to talk about each of these individual cards and then get into like the overall message. With the Three of Swords reversed, very clear that this a period of heartbreak, and if not heartbreak, then just the processing of a big emotion, a difficult one. The period of that is over, and if it's not over, then it will be. The work that you're currently doing, the work that you're currently committing yourself to, will lead to, and not an ending of that pain or sadness, because you know it, and it cycles, right? But you will outgrow that pain to the point where it's a detail in the painting of your life and not the entire color palette. Weird kind of metaphor there, but I hope you get what I'm saying. The moon itself upwards is illusions, those illusions that I'm talking about, things that are the illusions that are so ingrained, so normalized within us that we can't see them. It takes a lot of work to really recognize the illusion for what it is. And so reversed, it's those illusions no longer having any hold over us. What I really like about this, I mean, there's a lot to love about this spread, but the Four of Swords in the center holds so much power because it connects to the Three of Swords on one hand, because it's from 3 to 4 of Swords. So it connects with the beginning of the spread, but it also connects directly to the ending of the spread because it's from the 4 of Swords to the 4 of Wands, which is not a progression like we see in the 3 of Swords to the 4 of Swords, but rather a transition, a shift from the mental realm into one of action. So, but I digress because I'm not at the 4 of Wands yet. The 4 of Swords depicts repose. It shows a lack of movement in order for there to be the time to process. Taking the necessary time to be grateful, to feel everything that there is to be felt about something that is over now, and recognizing that why you're taking your time to do this processing is because you want for it to not hold as much power over you moving into the future. And that's the 4 of Swords is upwards connected to the 2 of Swords reversed, but the 2 of Swords upwards is a beautiful connection to the 4 of Swords, because where the 4 of Swords is the overall moment, and not even moment, but the overall period of processing and the ultimate time and space that it takes to like really maneuver through those feelings and thoughts in order for them to not have as much a hold over you. The 2 of Swords is the energy of holding, of stopping, of like both of these cards are about stopping in order to process. But the 4 of Swords is a longer period of time. It entails a lot more work because you're taking the time to process things at different types of levels. The 2 of Swords is the moment, the energy of one of those layers, like the processing of just the energy of stopping to process. And so reversed, it's along with these other reversals where, the 3 of Swords reversed is an ending of a state of heartache. and the moon reversed is a shattering of illusions. The Two of Swords reversed to me here says that what's also stopping is the pause, is the hesitation, this time that you've taken to process all of this. You're ready to resume now, to move forward. And that's why the Four of Swords wasn't reversed, because the Four of Swords reversed would have indicated that, yeah, it's time to end that processing and move into something, into another thing. But that it's upwards in contrast to the reversals around it really clarifies to me that, like, this work that you've been doing, it's been divinely sanctioned, that you did it, and that it's showing up here as something that's being affirmed to you. You're being congratulated. This is like a graduation moment where you're basically being recognized for this work that you've done. You've gotten a passing grade. That's why this one's upwards. And because you've passed this, that's why you have these reversals where the heartbreak that you were processing, all of that heaviness, that's ready to be relieved now. The illusions shattered, the hesitation stopped. You are ready to resume. And that's why the 2 4s are the ones that are upwards, because you're moving from this state, this mental state where you're processing things mentally, and if not just mentally, just internally, this moment of repose, of pause, into action, which is what Wands is about, fire, of being motivated. You're shifting from mental processing into a mode of action. And the imagery itself is really neat, because in the Four of Swords, there's seclusion, there's silence, it's the stillness of a church, while the Four of Wands, it's a homecoming, it's a party, it's celebration with other people, it's reconnecting, and if not reconnecting, just finding new connections. So the message of empowerment and affirmation here is that your work, the work that you've been doing, are doing towards addressing and processing these heavy things, it's being recognized. The wisdom you've gained, that has been necessary to shatter these illusions, that's being recognized. And because of the work that you've been doing, you're now being given the go-ahead to shift out of this mental state and into one of action, where you act on your motivations, act on what you want, because you're not hindered by the weight of these heavy emotions that the Three of Swords and the illusions that the moon are referring to. With always joyful, the Coreopsis card, write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year. And it's over here on the left with these cards, with the energy of heartbreak and just the heaviness and the illusions. To me, I looked at that as how, when we are going through dark periods, or anything rough, anything that's hard on us, there has to be a commitment to, if we're going to make it through that, there has to be something positive. What comes to mind is how in the Tomb Raider games, and especially in the first one, the 2013 reboot, one of my favorite little details about that game is how, this is her first adventure. She's new to all of this. She's, not really ready to be out here fighting people. And throughout the entire game, she gives herself words of affirmation. Like when she's terrified and she's about to start crying, you can hear it, the discomfort in her voice. She'll just whisper to herself, I'm gonna make it through this. I'm going to make it through this. Just like throughout the game. It's really neat. I love that detail. And that comes to mind because that's kind of it's a reference to that commitment that you've made, or that you made to make it through this heaviness, to make it through those to see past those illusions, this work that you've been doing, that commitment to responding to this heaviness, to those illusions with your own answer to it, where it's like, I don't want those things, I want more. Write on your heart that every day is the best day of the year. It's like a commitment to seeing the bright side of things, to see joy, even though where you were at was a place of under illusions and of heartache or heart heaviness. And on the other side, towards the end, devotion and dreams fulfilled, the quote reading, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So devotion, obviously the commitment that I'm talking about, right? But dreams fulfilled is how that devotion is creating this dream state for you, not dream state, but this dream kind of life for you, one that might have not felt possible when you were over here dealing with all of those things. And if you are, it might not feel possible now, but what's being said is that this commitment is generating for you those dreams fulfilled. The future, it belongs to you if you continue to believe in the beauty of not only your dreams, but in the beauty of this work that you're doing, of balancing this heaviness with good by seeking it. And that's what the advocate is about. It's about you standing in the face of, or having stood in the illusion, what am I saying? Standing in the face of illusions or heartache, or having stood against illusions and the heaviness of heartache, and advocating for the good, advocating for your dreams fulfilled, advocating against, standing against those things, basically to advocate for yourself. And that is what's being highlighted for you here. You're being congratulated for you advocating for yourself, for the commitments you've made in balancing things out, in processing things, and you're being given the go-ahead to now move into a state of action. Go for the things that you want. You are ready to move forward because you aren't as hindered by these things as you have been in the past. And if you are currently hindered, then continue your work because you are heading to a place where you'll be able to move because these things aren't weighing on you as much as they are right now. That being said, we're going to start moving these out of the way so that we can get into the advice portion and get a look at what is the best next step towards self-love. You know what? Yeah, we're going to have to overlap these. All right. What is the best next step towards self-love? We have the Knight of Wands reversed, the Ace of Wands reversed, the Ten of Wands, the King of Swords reversed, and the Chariot reversed. Lenormand adds Mountain, just gonna put you here, Bouquet, and Snake. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put the Lenormand off to the side while we interpret the tarot, and then we'll bring the Lenormand in at the end. The next best step towards self-love, the way that the message is coming through, the best phrasing for that question is kind of, what's the best thing you can do to love yourself? It is to preserve this work that you've been doing and that you've done, and that has helped you gain so much, is gaining you so much. Yes, it is gaining you a lot, and it is a blessing. But you need to be careful that you don't make a burden of this work. Not so much that, you're overdoing it, but rather that the blessings that this work is creating for you, be sure that you're not abusing it, that you're not overdoing it. So when we were talking about moving from a mental state into one of action, that we have the Ten of Wands and then everything else reversed. Point blank, it's kind of saying don't go crazy. It's not that just because you're free to move now and make action, be sure that the actions you're making are intentional. are in direct correlation and in alignment with what it is that you want, that you're not just acting because you can, that you're acting because it's what you want to do. That we have the 10 of Wands, which is about the effort, an effort we carry, a heavy one. It's 10, it's the most amount of wands, and it's a weight. It's motivation turned into obligation. And what flanks it are the Ace of Swords and the King of Swords. To me, that symmetry, it represents the entirety of the Swords suit, because they have the first and the last card of the suit. And to me, since we have a lot of swords cards, the first part of the reading was all about mental progress, and in fact we have the Ace of Swords in the second part. In the first part we have the 2 of Swords, the 3 of Swords, the 4 of Swords, and then the final card in the sword suit, the King of Swords. So all of that mental progress that you've been accomplishing, that you've accomplished, or that you're accomplishing, if you aren't careful, that could all be negated if the actions that you take as a result of, the actions that you're now unable to take, if you don't make the right actions, if you aren't careful with the actions that you take, it could, again, undo all of this mental progress that you've done. It could turn into a burden, these blessings. The Knight of Wands reversed indicates a lack of intentional movement. The Knight of Wands alone, out of the context of this reading, means a whole bunch of other things. But since the Knight is action, and it's of Wands, and we ended the first part of the reading with moving into a state of action, into a state of Wands, and the very next card is Wands action negated, I'm making that connection of the Knight of Wands reversed here, indicating Wands movement that isn't intentional, movement that isn't in alignment with this work that you've been doing. The Knight of Wands upwards here in this reading would have indicated you taking all of this work that you've done and moving intentionally with it. This shift from the mental state into the Wands state, from Swords to Wands into one of action, the Knight of Wands upwards would have represented, or does represent, if once you address this work that we're this warning here, it's about moving intentionally. And when you do, I digress. That on the other side, there's the symmetry in the second half. The Knight of Wands is action. All knights are, and movement, right? The Chariot is movement also. It's about, in fact, the Chariot is about graduation. It's about moving from one state into an elevated one, a higher one, and that's what this first part was talking about. And so reversed, it's warning of the danger that exists if you aren't careful, where all of your work, all of this progress, that graduation that you're attaining, it could all be thrown away if, again, you misuse what you're being given here. Some hints as to what that could be. Relationships are heavily indicated here, especially if the work that you've been processing is a certain specific relationship or relationships. What's being indicated here is a return to those relationships will entirely negate this. Another thing that's being said is maintaining the hesitation, staying comfortable in this state of repose and not moving into a state of action can negate this. Lenormand, what's fascinating is that in the deck that I used in the second half is the Alice in Wonderland deck, and the wands are represented by flowers, and the 10 of wands in the center is the 10 of flowers, which is like a whole bunch of flowers, and the center card in the Lenormand is bouquet, and it lines up perfectly with the 10 of flowers. And so that immediately connects this work, right? So the bouquet in this Lenormand spread is a reference directly to the work that you've been doing. The bouquet is this collection of flowers, your work, it's you, like the you that you've collected and brought together and created this beautiful structure with. That's the result of Mountain, the work, the effort that you have been putting towards creating this beautiful bouquet that is your life, that is you as you stand today. And Snake is the Snake card is referencing the presence of the risk, of real risk that exists in your life, of something that can come and steal from that, take from that, cipher from that. And that's what we were talking about in tarot, the danger that lies here, where if you aren't careful, if you aren't intentional with who you're giving that bouquet to, where you're placing it, what you're doing with it, it can be drained. It can turn into something. It can turn into snake energy. It can turn into a burden, and can turn into something that negates all of the work that this beautiful bouquet that you created. It could all be kind of like torn apart. This work that you've done and what it's created for you, it could all be undone if you aren't intentional, if you aren't careful with what you're doing with it. A little dire, a little crazy there at the end, but honestly, no, it isn't, because the fact that where you're at right now is in this state of understanding that you are advocating for joy, that you want something better than where you're currently at or where you've been. Hold on to that. Keep that and hold on to it as you move forward. Don't let go of the fact that you want good things, that you've created good things. Don't allow the presence of risk and bad things, which is always going to be present no matter what we do or where we are. Don't allow for those things. Don't allow for anything to come and take from this beautiful thing that you've created. I really hope that this helped. I will catch you on the next one. Bye.